All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Just want to make sure, could someone in the chat window let me know that you are seeing at least the first slide? Cool. Thanks, Dylan. Appreciate that. Cool. Let's get started. Today, you've joined the session, the Red Zone Selling Masterclass, 3 non-negotiables to win big deals. These masterclasses I like to make as interactive as possible. So though I'll be leading the discussion, please raise your hand or pop into the chat. I'm going to try to monitor that as best as I can. I am going to ask some questions, so I hope you guys will participate in some of my short questions I have during the presentation. And feel free, unlike other presentations, if you want to stop me on a certain slide or question, go ahead and jump right in. I do not mind at all. So with that said, again, in the chat screen here, curious of what your roles are. Put a big yes there or thumbs up if you're an individual contributor, AE, etc. Let me know. I'm trying to get a feel for my audience. Okay, I see a couple coming in here. All right. See a bunch of thumbs up coming in. Cool. So we got our AEs there. How about any sales leaders, sales managers? Got any sales leaders or sales managers out there? Oh, we do. All right, guys, we got to be careful here what you say now, right? How about founders, C-levels, operators out there? We got any of those? I see you, Joe. How about absolutely nothing to do with sales, just curious about the masterclass? Anyone like that out there? All right, I think we've got the right audience. You came to the right place then. Great. Thanks for joining. Like I said, a couple of logistics. Please stop me if you got questions. I am going to have plenty of time at the end of the presentation to ask questions. So feel free to hold your thoughts or bring it up at the end. And please, when I ask questions, I appreciate the engagement in here in the chat area. So with that, let's get into it. All right, a little bit about myself. I've been a sales leader for 25 plus years, which means I'm really old, mostly at early stage tech startups. I've been fortunate to have been part of 5 different exits. I've been a 3-time CRO. And it generated over $1 billion at the different companies I've worked at over the years. Today, I'm a sales strength coach, a GTM advisor, and speaker. And some of you might have caught the sales strength coach. Well, what the heck is that? Well, if you played sports, you probably had folks helping along the way, like a trainer, strength coach, someone on the side that's there to help you make you get better. And that's what I do with sales organizations. I come in and try to make everyone improve, helping them focus and execute and close more deals. So that's what I do when I'm not doing presentations like this. But the most important thing for today is by the end of this session, I think you're going to learn a couple of things, right? You'll have a couple of actionable takeaways to get better at closing big deals. But also I'm going to share with you some of the plays that I've used and put into my book, Red Zone Selling, as well. So I think there'll be a couple of good outcomes and takeaways for you all to put in practice today. All right. So first question, how many of you out there have either bought or read Red Zone Selling? Give me a big thumbs up or a yes in the chat or through the screen. Okay, I see them coming in. Thank you very much. Oh, look at that. That's a lot more than I thought. Ooh, a bunch of thumbs up. Well, great. So then you guys know what Red Zone and the Red Zone system is all about. You know, it's a system that complements what your current team might be doing from a methodology standpoint. So many organizations out there use MEDDIC or MEDDPICC, and the Red Zone Selling system kind of complements that. Here's the big differentiation of what Red Zone does. One, it's a very simplistic system. As you can see on this slide here, you've got 3 zones, a yellow, a green, and a red zone. And each zone represents different plays that you're going to use based on the situation. So what we're trying to teach in Red Zone Selling is situational awareness, situational selling. So you can be able to call the right plays at the right time, right? So simplicity is number one. The point that its sole focus is to help you close at a higher rate. That's number one, is a closing system. And then last is the actual plays that it provides you based on the situation you're in, whether in your yellow zone, green zone, or ready to close in the red zone. It's that. And this system came about through my sales leadership over the last 25 years and seeing what worked for me and my teams to close these bigger, more complex type deals. But it's not just for enterprise. Honestly, the system could be put in place for any deals. So we'll touch upon this, but I would encourage you, for folks that didn't buy the book and you find this interesting, go to Amazon, search Red Zone Selling, Vince Beasy, and you'll see the book pulled up, and it comes in an ebook version, a paperback, and if you like audio, an audio version. So before we get into the first non-negotiable, let's talk about what good versus great looks like when it comes to salespeople today. So in the red zone, the yellow zone, a good seller talks to interested buyers. Someone comes in, or you formulated a relationship, you got them engaged with you, you talk to them. Great seller not only does that, but they diagnose pain, they confirm urgency, and they disqualify fast, right? Elite sellers don't confuse interest with intent. Again, interest doesn't mean they're going to move forward. It just means they're willing to start the conversation. And the great ones understand that versus good sellers. In the green zone, what this looks like, good is you run demos, you send your follow-ups, and then you wait for the next action to take place. Whereas a great seller is more proactive. They build mutual action plans. They're multi-threading from the beginning, and they align with strategic priorities of the buyer. And in this scenario, elite sellers don't manage deals. They're the quarterback of the deals, right? They're leading the deals, right? And then the red zone, the closing zone, good looks like reacting to red lines, getting them across the finish line potentially, avoiding conflict, tends to be a little bit overconfident, where a great seller anticipates objections, expects them to come, leads legal, owns the close, and feels a little paranoid. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But elite sellers finish strong by surfacing hidden objectives to the deals. So get to them before they kill you. That's what a great seller does. So they're proactive. So that's good versus great. And with that, I think we're ready to jump into non-negotiable number one. Don't advance without fit and urgency. Well, geez, Vince, that's pretty basic. Of course, I'm not going to do that. But I say this because I see it all the time. We're in the yellow zone. You should not advance to the green zone unless you have confirmed fit and we've confirmed urgency from the buyer. So let's jump into that a little bit more. What does fit actually mean? To me, in my book, what fit means is that you've met the criteria for a use case or a problem that they're having, right? You know what that is, and you can solve it. So problem defined, solution can solve that problem. That's fit. It's pretty simplistic, right? So what does urgency mean? Urgency means the client has a desire to solve the problem in a timely manner, and you can tie that to a specific date. Now, a lot of folks out there will create an opportunity, put a date in that's end of month, end of the quarter, end of the year. That's your date. That's not a date that creates urgency or is tied to urgency. So what I'm talking about here with urgency is that there's a problem that you can solve that's tied to a date that's important to them. And there's three ways to anchor. It's based on service, ROI, or improvement, right? So I want to get this done by this date because I want to get this done by a specific date because I want to receive this ROI, this benefit. I want to get this done by a certain date because I want to gain this service, this efficiency. Those are urgency triggers that tie to a date. So when your deal in the yellow zone has clear fit and clear urgency, means you're ready to potentially move to the green zone. Make sense so far? So before I get into some insights, some teachings, and some plays here, another question for you guys. Who out there has advanced a deal without fit and urgency and lost it? Now, I'm looking for a little vulnerability and a little honesty out there. So have you ever advanced a deal to the green zone that didn't have fit and urgency? Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up come across. I can predict what probably happened. You might have won one or two of those, but guess what? You probably lost those deals. And the reason I bring that up, because if you do that, you are absolutely impacting your close rate. Well, who cares about close rate, Vince? Well, you should care about close date because all you have control of is your time. If you're deciding to advance deals without fit and urgency, you're wasting your time, right? So that's the whole point of this exercise. And I'll show you how you can increase what your close rate will increase by if you just follow these couple of simple things. So let's get into it. And thank you guys for responding. I appreciate that. All right, let's teach a little bit here. So number one, don't chase interest. Remember what we said before, interest is not intent. Hunt for the fit. Keep digging. Ask all those questions that are uncovering the pain, because the pain is what's going to lead to the urgency. So interest starts the conversation. It's your job to dig down and find out what the real pain is that's going to make them move off of or join whatever your solution is. Number two, urgency is not discovered. It's created, right? You're not created. It can't be manufactured. Everyone always says, I see this a lot on newsletters and in forums, right? How do I create urgency? And I think there's ways to create urgency through offers and all that fun stuff in the red zone, but in the yellow zone, you can't create urgency. In the yellow zone, urgency is tied to pain. And if you can't find that, you're not going to have urgency, unfortunately. That's number two. So let's not artificially make up urgency. Let's dig for it. Let's find it. Let's make sure it's there. And it's tied to a date and it's tied to a specific problem. Number three, disqualify early to protect your pipeline. We talked a little bit about this in what good versus great looks like, but killing deals fast is a superpower. The best closers have the discipline to walk away from opportunities that don't meet their criteria. It's hard to do that, but if you're really honest about your deals in the yellow zone, about fit and urgency, and you walk away from them, or you put them to the side, it doesn't mean you have to kill them. It just means they're not ready to advance now. If you're patient about that and you're disciplined about that, that is a superpower, right? Because I know we all feel as salespeople that we should close all deals we've deemed a deal to work, but that's not true. You should not have the goal to close all deals you deem that you should work, right? You should continue to look for reasons why you should continue and not. So here are 3 plays that you can run today to help you in the yellow zone for fit and urgency. And by the way, again, I'm going to be a broken record. I'm not going to go into the detail of these plays. They are in the book. You can pick up the book on Amazon. It's called Red Zone Selling. All 3 of these plays, I can guarantee you, are in there. So the first one is the priority fit play. Open your CRM today, and every deal that's in the yellow zone, ask yourself this question, if you know this answer, is, are these deals, are you a top 3 priority for them to get done right now? If your answer is no, if you're 4, 5, or 6, or whatever the number is, or if you don't know, that's a problem. You need to understand where you rate versus the other priorities of your champion and or the company. So that's number 1. Where do you fit priority-wise? Play number 2 for fit. The deep pain probe. Qualify the cost of inaction and status quo. Very simply, ask questions like, if you do nothing, what is the cost to you or your business, right? So that really gets to it. And they're going to react one of a couple of ways, right? Hey, Vince, I don't know. We haven't really quantified that. Or, great question. I don't know. Or, wow, it's a dollar amount, an efficiency cost, whatever it is. Those that can answer that question, obviously, are going to be the better opportunities to move forward. And those that don't know the answer, again, probe for them or help them find out what the cost of doing nothing is. Again, that's a type of question. There's lots more of those types of questions that are open-ended to get to what the real problem is. So deep pain probe should absolutely be played in the yellow zone. And the last is called the 4F deal fit play, which is similar to it's my version of BANT, let's call it, right? It's fit, friction, funding, forecast. Fit, we already talked about. Friction means, is there enough pain internally on their side, on the buyer side, to move forward? Funding means, do they have the means to pay for this? And forecast means, is this tied to a specific date? Can we anchor this to a date that makes sense for the buyer, right? So that's the 4F deal play. For each of those plays, tie that to your actual deals and see what happens. So, but the ultimate test, right, in this zone, in the yellow zone, for fit and urgency, do this. Look at each one of your plays in the yellow zone. Ask these 4 questions. Is this a mutual fit? both sides, right? Is the pain real and enough to create urgency to move forward? Is there an anchor date that's important to them, to the buyer, based on ROI, the other ones we talked about, to move forward? And then ultimately, should you advance this or not? So that's a good way to stay honest. Those 4 questions should get it done for you on whether you should advance your deal, very simplistically. But again, all these plays and all these things we're talking about are in red zone. So that's the yellow zone. And the most important reason why you should do this is what I alluded to before. If you find fit and urgency, you will increase your close rate by 20 to 100%. And here's what I mean by that. If your current close rate is 20% today, if you would only advance deals in the yellow zone to the green zone by fit and urgency, you will increase your win rate by to 24 up to 40%. So all you have to do is a couple small tweaks and you're automatically going to increase the chances of you closing a deal. So that's a fact. It's not my opinion. It's true. We don't advance bad deals. We increase our win rate. We advance great deals that are a fit and urgency. We're doing a good thing. We're increasing our win rates. All right. I'm going to move on to the next section. If you have questions, go ahead and put it into the chat. I am seeing it, so I'm not getting inundated. I can answer, but if we don't have the questions, you can put them in now, or you can hold your thoughts to the end. Without further ado, let's jump into the green zone, ladies and gentlemen. Non-negotiable number 2, create momentum by providing value. You probably hear this all the time. The best sellers provide value. Well, it's not just the best sellers provide value. Value is the thing that creates momentum in your deals. And let me talk about that a little deeper. So movement equals momentum. And the best way to create momentum is by providing value, because without momentum, that's when your deals stall, disappear, go on forever, linger, right? Or in worst case, they die. And in the green zone, this is where I see most of these deals, what happens here, right? You got them through what was called qualification or discovery. You're now in what I call the green zone, and the deal's taking longer than it should, or it's stalling, or you're getting ghosted. And that's because you need to take a more active role when it gets into the green zone. You can't cross your fingers and hope for the next step to happen or they'll get back to you. You have to own this. You have to take control. As we said before, you need to be the quarterback of the deal. You need to provide value. So, second question for you all out there. Think about a deal in the green zone or deals in the green zone in the past or right now. Have you ever had a deal that stalled, lingered, died, or generally lost control in the green zone? 100% of you should say yes. You can throw up the thumbs up and all that, but like, this is the classic area. The green zone is where things stop. Now, certainly things in the red zone can slow down or disappear, but this is the danger zone where I see, right? We talk about in the yellow zone, it's about you killing deals. That's your superpower. And the green zone is about you providing value, being collaborative to help the deal move forward. So it's taking ownership. So let's talk about how you can create momentum in your deals. All right. The best way, again, to build momentum, is to create trust through what? Collaboration. If the buyer and your key stakeholders are not working with you, are not collaborating with you, it doesn't mean you're not going to win the deal. It just means you're going to have a harder time to win the deal. And it also means you're not going to have the control that you want. So what we're looking to do is provide value and gain control. So let's talk about this a little bit, things you should look out for. Deals stall, my opinion, without clarity and commitment. So again, if we have it in the yellow zone, really figured out what the real pain is and what's the motivation for the buyer to get this done, and we haven't provided clear steps as to what it's going to take to get done, then that's not a good thing. We sell all day, every day. Your buyer maybe transacts and buys something like your service once a year, twice a year, maybe never. So you have to understand on every single deal and almost assume that they really don't know how to get this done. So you have to help them get this done. You have to provide the clarity. So, number 2, you're the quarterback, not the vendor, right? You need to lead. You need to take control. You need to read the situation. You need to provide the guidance that they need. You need to call the plays. You need to provide them the roadmap to be able to get this done. And I'll go over some plays that we can do to do that. And then at the end of the day, number 3, co-ownership creates urgency. Isn't it great when you've actually created that relationship and you provided that value, that your buyer, your champion, your key stakeholders on the other side see you, Vince, as this person's a catalyst for me. This person's helping me. This person's really understands my pain. This person really understands what we're trying to get at. They're not trying to sell me something. They're trying to solve a problem. I feel as though they're a trusted advisor, and that's a real thing. You guys have felt it. And when that happens, that selling process becomes a special thing, because it's not you selling anymore. It's you partnering to help solve problems. And that's where you want to get to in the green zone. You want to earn that respect, earn that trust by being collaborative, by providing value. So here's the 3 plays to help you provide that value and distinguish yourself by all the other salespeople out there. Take a drink of water here. I'm talking too fast. The first is something I call power mapping, which means you are going to define and diagnose all the key stakeholders in your deals. The economic buyer, the technical buyer, the champion, the executive sponsor, etc. You're going to define who they are. You're going to define what their level of influence and authority is internally. And it's not just about defining them. It's defining them so you can engage them into the process. Where you can, you want to bring, of course, as many key stakeholders involved. So the first part of this is let's power map them. Let's figure out who the players are. Let's figure out which of these players can offer influence and authority to help you get the deal done so you can help them get the deal done, right? And we'll hold this thought. In that power mapping, there's this concept of a shadow killer out there, someone in your map that can actually kill the deal that's silent. So we'll talk about that in a little bit here. So that's number 1. We got a power map. Number 2, to help you be more collaborative, of course, at this point, we should be creating a mutual action plan. How many of you out there, raise a thumb, give a thumb, a hands up, whatever. How many of you out there are using mutual action plans or have used mutual action plans in the past? Okay, I see some folks popping in there. Great. So you know the power of that, right? There's nothing better than putting together a mutual action plan with key milestones, ownership of who's doing what, a date associated with, and dependencies to that. That's basically the outline of a mutual action plan. Presenting to them, agreeing on the milestones, agreeing on ownership. But now you've got the document that outlines why they should move forward with you and how you're going to help them. And now that means we have control and we can hold them accountable. They can hold us accountable. It's a two-way street. So the mutual action plan is not dictating what needs to be done. It's mapping out a strategic and agreeing on the initiatives that need to get done to create this partnership and solve these problems. So anyone that's doing mid-market and above, where it makes sense, mutual action plan is gold. Tied to the mutual action plan is what I call the business value plan, where a lot of people talk about ROI analysis and calculation. Certainly that can be included into a business value plan, but it's not all of it. The business value plan is created so that your champion, your main point of contact, can take this document and internally share it with other key stakeholders and say, I want to move forward with company X, Y, and Z and Vince BZ because here's the value it provides. So it's the document that you create that they can use to sell internally. And so it maps out the problem, how you solve the problem distinctly, and the actual benefit, right? So it doesn't need to be 3, 4, 5 pages. It just needs to be very clear and well articulated. And after you create it, you share it with your champion, get feedback, tweak it, and then provide this as another living document that they can use. But if you think about it, you presenting to them, you talk about your business, your value proposition all the time. You think they remember, they don't. The only way they're going to remember is you continue to iterate it or explain it over and over again. But you also need to give them the documentation that shows it. And I don't care if that's a digital version or if it's some other version, doesn't matter. You need to have it in writing so they can know what it is, they can see it, and they can share it, and they need to believe it. And if you do this right, the business value plan typically will distinguish you from other sellers. I still, to this day, don't see a lot of sales organizations enforcing putting together a business value plan on every single deal. So it's a way to distinguish yourself. All right, here's what you can do today for any deals you have in the green zone to verify if you're ready to make the move to the red zone. So here's the questions. Do you know the real buying process? Number one. Are the key stakeholders engaged? So we talked about mapping, they're mapped. Are you engaging them now? Is the deal moving or is it in limbo? Is it stalling? Is it lingering? Or is there continued movement, momentum? And are you a trusted advisor, or are you just looked at as another vendor trying to sell themselves? Be honest with yourself. Ask those questions about every specific deal you're working in the green zone, and you will increase your chances of getting into the red zone and having success at closing. So those are some of the situations to look out for. Those are some of the plays to run to what, again? To make sure that we are influencing the deals, right? That we are creating momentum in our deals in the green zone so they don't stall or die. And the reason you want to do that is because it's a theme here, guys. We want to increase our chances of closing. So if you do this, if you build momentum, if you create momentum, you're going to increase the close rate in the green zone by 40 to 60%. What I mean by that, if your deal is about mid-cycle, mid-stages, is currently 50%, you will increase your chances of closing in that zone to 70 to 80%. So again, we're talking about big differences here if we do the right things and we're honest about our deals. And I'm not talking about really hard things. I'm just talking about putting the work in to make sure you're patient, you're asking the right questions, and you're, again, in this situation, building momentum. Hope that's resonating. This is really hard when we can't see faces. So I'm hoping everyone's getting this and agreeing. Maybe we can get some nods or something I can see out there. Okay, see a thumbs up. Thank you, Jameson. Appreciate that. All right, Joe. All right. So yellow zone, right? We don't want to move forward any bad deals. We want fit and urgency. In the green zone, we want to be looked at as a trusted advisor, building momentum, owning the right to be considered a trusted advisor, to have the privilege to get into what? The red zone, right? So let's talk about that. Non-negotiable number 3. Find the friction before it's too late. I think in sales, it's a good thing to be a little bit paranoid about your deals, especially when you enter into the red zone. I like to call this being an optimistic pessimist. That's me. I want to believe it's going to happen, but I'm always looking for where things could fall apart, where things and challenges and obstacles can come in. And that's how you kind of look at when you get in the red zone. You have to find, there's hidden obstacles. There's friction there. If you don't continue to look for it, guess what? You're going to have some surprises. That iceberg is going to pop up all of a sudden, and you're going to be taken for a loop and not be prepared. And I think that's what the red zone and really high closers really do at all times. They work the deal and look for obstacles all the way through, all the way till signature. So, question for you guys here. How many of you lost late stage deals for one of these reasons? Just one of these. You might have lost it for all of these, for all I know. Number 1, a new stakeholder was introduced. Number 2, your champion leaves. Number 3, the budget disappears or gets cut. Boy, a lot of thumbs. Number 4, other priorities, more importantly, came up. All right, so those are the common things, and I see a lot of people jumping in there. That's the case. So we may not be able to overcome all those, but we can eliminate most by finding friction before it kills your deals. Again, another theme throughout this presentation has been be proactive, be the quarterback, look for these things, read the defense, make the audible, make the changes. You get the theme here with red zone being a quarterback and running the deals. You can't just sit on your heels and expect these things to happen. You can't just expect because they gave you a verbal, it's going to get done. You've got to continue to work the deal and have a little bit of paranoia in you. So let's get into some things that can help you. All right, red zone teaching points and some plays that you can run today. So things to look for. Most deals dies not from it's not a good opportunity or there's not a level of urgency still. It's from friction, not the competition, guys, right? Security reviews pop up, budget reallocation happens, unengaged executives. We didn't get an executive sponsor, right? It's the silent killers that derail the deals, right? So that's what I mean by friction. It's like you need to continue to ask those questions that are bringing fiction across. Number two, kind of tied to that, and we alluded to it at the beginning of the presentation, hidden blockers kill deals. Every organization has shadow influencers, people who can quietly vet a decision, like IT, like finance, like compliance, like procurement. We all love procurement out there, right, guys? Those are the shadow influencers that could actually derail you. So one is, did you identify them in your key stakeholder mapping? Did you know that they were a shadow influencer? Did you know that they could potentially kill the deal? These are the folks you need to be aware of, especially in the red zone, right? So you're not taken by surprise. You should already have known if procurement was going to get involved by this point. You should already have known if legal is going to accept your paper or they're going to have to use theirs, right? These are things you need to uncover, unblock. Third, great closers clear the path, right? They don't just react to obstacles, anticipate them. Again, if I'm over redundant about this, I'm sorry, but you have to understand, because you got the verbal doesn't mean there's things underneath the surface that could pop up and you need to be proactive about them. So let's talk about things in ways you can do that to be more proactive. The first play is own the close. So we talked about a mutual action plan before. But the own the close play is specifically about documenting the final steps from the time you get the verbal to implementation. So it goes past signature, it goes to implementation. You need to define that, and you need to, again, discuss that with your champion and get buy-in that this sounds right. And imagine creating this closing plan, and there's all these details. That's where you can flush out the friction, right? Hey, I took a proactive approach to saying, here's the 3 things we need to get done for us to hit the date of the 31st, which is the date that's important to you. Can I run it by you, walk you through it? And as you're walking it through them, you're going to uncover other things. You can ask the question like, hey, at this point, is there anyone in the organization that could potentially kill the deal, right? So that's things that get flushed out. Another play is the shadow org chart play. Map the unofficial power structure. Who really influences decision, who has veto power. So go back to your key stakeholder plan, reevaluate that, see if you've got any hidden shadow players and influencers in there, and then uncover that. Hey, at this point, do you think procurement's going to step in here and do anything that's going to potentially jeopardize this? Hey, at this point, is your CFO on board? Did we tie all the knots with what your finance department's looking for? That's what that's going to do for you, is to be proactive about looking for those types of people that can be shadow killers. The friction forecast obstacle planning, right? Every deal has potential blocker. Talked about this before. Legal, security, procurement, budget, mitigation, all that stuff. So I want to ask those questions like what I call if-then questions. Here's an example of that. If we get through red lines this Friday, do you think we'll be able to sign the documents by Tuesday? If then. If we get through your security review by the end of the week, can we get to the red lines next week? If then, right? So think about and catalog all your if then statements in the red zone that you want to ask these people, and it'll really uncover and unpack a lot of obstacles that you don't see that are just underneath there. It'll also help your buyer who hasn't done this before to also find out internally if those are potentially really obstacles or not. So those are 3 plays you can play. And guess what? You know where to find them. By the way, at the end, if you stick around, I have a resource center. I'm going to show you where you can get a lot of templates we talked about today to download and start using, like the mutual action plan and the key stakeholder mapping. You can download this for free and you can use this. All right. Think of the red zone deals you're working on right now and ask these questions of these deals. Who could quietly block the deal? So you're looking at deals, you're asking those questions. This isn't a question to your buyer. Is your champion ready and resourced? Meaning ready, still on board with everything you agreed to, and resourced. Do they have what they need to be able to get this thing done? Does your economic buyer own the urgency? is the economic buyer still feel that hitting these dates are important? Is that urgency still there? Is it still a priority? Bonus question. Name the person that could kill the deal at this point. And if you don't know who that person is, then you should be paranoid because there is always someone that has the potential to kill deals at the end, especially. We don't want any surprises. So again, the whole gist of this red zone and this non-negotiable number 3 is be paranoid, be optimistic, but be paranoid that there's hidden obstacles underneath the surface that your job is to uncover to make sure that we get to the finish line and we get to the goal line, and we're not kicking field goals, we're not punting. We're doing what? We're scoring touchdowns. By the way, fun fact for you all, 74% of touchdowns in NFL are scored in the red zone. 74% of touchdowns are scored in the red zone. If you do this right, if we run these plays right in the red zone, guess what? You are going to increase your close rate in the red zone by 6 to 17%. That means in the red zone, if your close rate is around 85%, you're going to increase that to 91 to 100%. Does anyone out there want 100% close rate in the red zone? Anyone? Is that important to anybody? Making commission, closing deals, closing bigger deals, right? So all these things we talked about, things to look for, all these plays, realistic, right, guys? I'm not making up, I'm not creating the wheel. All I'm telling you is that, and teach you, is be situation aware where you are in the deal, who you're talking to, provide the right value, call the right play, run the right play, and you will execute at a higher level. That's what red zone selling is all about, is executing at a higher level by just being situation aware and then calling the right plays and reading the situation. The last thing I'll say to you before we get to Q&A and open this up. We used to, back in the day, have to go on the client site and we had to present in front of them. It means you had to, for those of you old enough, you had to take your projector with you, your laptop with you, set everything. So you had to be IT and then you had to present. And oftentimes you'd finally get into the room. Maybe there were some people missing, or maybe there were people that were just looking at their phone. You had to present, set all that stuff up, and then you had to read the room while you're presenting. So I don't like doing these Masterclass versions. I can't see you guys' eyes. I don't know how you're reacting other than some thumbs up. My point is that if I got a room full of people and they're not engaged and they're not responding to me and they're not asking me questions, I've got to do something. I got to change something. I might stop doing the presentation. I might just ask them questions. A good example is if I have the CEO in a meeting for the first 15 minutes and that's it, I'm not showing a bunch of slides, guys. What I'm doing is I'm there to present to the CEO. I'm there to make sure that the CEO understands what our company does, how we solve the problem, how we can have a better outcome for them. Because what do CEOs care about? They care about positive outcomes. That's what it means to be a red zone seller, to be situation aware and always change what you're doing. And it's not a one size fits all. You have to change up. That's going to conclude this part of the non-negotiables. Hopefully you all found that interesting, informative. I'm not leaving. I've gotten to the top of the hour. I'm going to switch to the next slide. I got some questions. If you guys don't ask, I'm going to ask you, but come off mic, ask questions, put it in the chat. Anything I can help you guys with. Current deal, if you want to talk about that, whatever it is, let's get into it. If not, I'm going to pick on people and ask some questions. Nope, someone's got their hand up. Danielle, go ahead.
Hi, Vince. Great to see you again. I just had a quick question. I'm preparing for a big meeting with a really large government organization, their CFO, their COO, and CIO. We don't have a lot of these signals, but we're being brought in front of them. I'm just kind of curious how you would apply what you've talked about today so that we're making an effective presentation in the 30 minutes we have.
And these 3 C-levels you mentioned, have they been engaged at all with you and the team and the deal at all?
Not directly. This is our first time in front of them.
What is your champion? Does your champion shared anything about these 3 folks?
Yes. Thanks to your talk to our team a few months ago, we've been able to get the use case, what folks care about, what the strategy of the organization is heading towards to solve a policy, quantifying policy, basically, with our product.
A couple of, again, I can keep asking you 1,000 questions, but I'm going to point out a couple of things, Daniel, I think will be important. Is this going to be on site or is it going to be a Zoom?
Oh, it's a Zoom.
Okay, that sucks. But anyway,
No.
You also have to meet power with power. So you're going to have to bring Dan or somebody else with you, maybe your CEO with you on this call. I assume this is a big size deal besides being a government agency and having the C-level there. I assume it's a fairly good size deal. And if it is, I like to meet power with power. That's number one.
Okay.
C-level also doesn't want to be dictated through PowerPoint. So be careful on the amount of slides you are throwing out them, right? I think it's getting to the so what. I look at it this way when I have the C-level in a room. If they had to get up and leave in 15 minutes, did I cover the things that I wanted to cover to make sure I hit home? And that's what you have short attention span. Think about what's on their daily planner on a daily basis. They don't, if you have an hour, you can make it a half an hour. No one's going to say, I want 60 more minutes. Right. Cover the most important things, get those out front first, and make sure you got your questions answered as fast as you can in the beginning, because they will lose attention. And if you start just droning on about benefit or feature, and not how you're going to help them, you're going to lose their interest, right?
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. Anyone else? Question for the group. Are these three zones, I think they're pretty self-explanatory. Which is the most problematic for you all? Is the yellow, green, or red? Is there one area that you think you're struggling more with others? You can throw it into the chat, or someone wants to come off mute and talk about it. But I'm curious, which zone gives you the most challenges today?
It's Brian here. How you doing?
Hey.
Yeah, I guess one of the challenges is really aligning my champion to business and key objectives. With my champion's going to want to do X, quantifying that to the business. It's going to move the needle with team.
You're breaking up a little bit there. I think what you're saying, you just tell me if I'm getting it right. You're having a hard time getting your champion to align to the business value or share that business value internally. Is that what I'm hearing you correctly?
Well, just validating it more to speak sometimes.
Oh, I see. And what?
So
and
getting real information out of them, which sometimes trustworthy.
And what you're selling today, does your solution do a good job of being able to quantify the value that you provide?
Not necessarily. There's a lot of intangibles and what is.
And that's the I asked that question because that's the challenge. Anyone out there that's selling a solution that has a true ROI that you can prove because of case studies or other clients, you have less of the challenge that you think you're running into. When you have a solution that's I hate to say it this way, a nice to have, it's hard sometimes to get the economic buyer and or your champion to say, yeah, Brian, you hit it on the head. That's exactly right. I would only say, I give you this advice. Knowing what you know now, what I would want to do with my champion is like, hey, I'm going to provide you a short document that talks about the business value and the outcomes, but I want to collaborate with you on and get agreement on these are the things that you're looking to do. And this is important to you and your company. Because I find a lot of times salespeople say, hey, here you go. Here's the business value. But if you don't get feedback and collaboration on it, it's your opinion. It's not a joint decision. I say all that, and I know it's hard to be able to get that. And I know it's hard for folks out there that are selling a product that is solving a problem, but it's not critical, or solving a problem that's not tied to a real quantifiable value or an ROI. So know that, recognize that, and figure out how you can get their buy-in, whatever that might be.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think the collaboration on the value is key, and having their buy-in.
And here's the thing again, if they're not willing to collaborate with you, they're not willing to give you feedback, what is that telling you? You think you're going to win that deal?
Wrong.
Yeah, you're not going to win. You can only ask the girl out so many times when you have to just say she's not interested, or vice versa, right? It's time to move on. Later time, or just kill it all together. Let me leave the chat here. So green and red zones, I'm seeing yellow. What is the price? Oh, so somebody's got a question about, you're getting stuck in the yellow zone based on price. Is that right? Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, yes. So, hi, Vince. So, customer prospects always ask, so what is the price? And I give them an answer. Look, it can be between £1,000 and £2,000 because there's so many details that I don't know about the prospect that I don't want to blow this deal. So, I'm asking this. I'm saying this because lately I was on a call where the customer asked me what is the price. I gave a slightly higher price between 2,000 and 3,000. Which might not be the case really, but it blew the deal, I think.
Yeah, man, we could talk for 2 days based on price in the yellow zone. I can tell you that right now. I'm curious, are you selling a service or a product?
So Vince, you were at our SKO. It's a B2B, it's a product, a SaaS.
You know, I've never been shy about talking about price. And look, if you're going to lose on price because it's all about price, then I'd rather know that in the yellow zone, as I said before, and just kill it and move on, right? If your price is, your minimum price is 2,000 and that's it, and you can't go, if you can't, I'd rather get out of the way, right? Like if they, and it's then, if you can't, to go back to the business value, if you can't prove that the $2,000 is an investment, you're going to have a hard time anyway. You're going to constantly battle them over the $2,000 price, whatever the price is. It doesn't matter. If price becomes the focus, you have to question whether that's the right client or ICP or whoever it is. If that's a one-off, then what would he do? It's just not a right fit. But if it's happening consistently, then you're going to need to really think about that and what you want to do differently. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, yes.
You ask a great question. It's just going to be hard to it's very situational, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is all deals or just once in a while that comes up.
Just once in a while. Some people are super pricey. I mean, price sensitive because they're SMB and they are each dollar.
Here's a question I ask them instead of turnaround. My price is $2,000. What would you expect to pay for a solution like this? That's the question I'd have for them. What has your research said you should pay for something like this? I just turn it around for them. If you don't think it's $2,000, what do you think it is? Oh, it's $100. You know you're not in the same ballpark then. If they say it's like, I think it's $1,500, you're in the ballpark. If they say it's a couple $100, you're not in the ballpark, right? That's like I walk into a Mercedes dealership and I'm expecting to pay a VW price, right? Like it ain't going to happen, my friend. Like if you want this Mercedes, it's going to cost you $85,000. If you want the VW, go pay the 40, but it ain't the same thing, right? All right, another question. Let me see if I got another question. Let me go back a slide. Oh, what is a thing that I might have said today that really resonated that you want to start doing today, tomorrow, the next day? Is there anything that you felt impactful that makes sense that could fit into your selling process today? Anything jump out of you? Absolutely nothing, Vince. I don't think anything you said resonated with me. Said no one. Map. Yeah, I think that's a good one. And by the way, I you know, a lot of the things I introduce aren't like, but I always found sales is always about doing the basics. It always comes back, just like in sports and being an athlete. It's, you don't have to do, you have to do the basics, the fundamentals before you can become great. And a lot of the plays and things I suggest people do, if you put enough time and effort and you practice it, you can get better at it, right? All right, I am going to wrap things up and give you guys some resources. So I have
a quick question, if you have a second, Vince.
Yeah.
I'm working an enterprise-sized company deal, and we're in the red zone. They've given us the verbal that they're going to commit and move forward. However, the approval from the overall parent company, which is in Japan, won't be coming through for another month or so. And other than the usual touch points, trying to stay top of mind, be on the radar, what are some potential tips and tricks you have of ensuring that we don't get hung up in the red zone after receiving the verbal? They've told us they're moving forward, but the actual contracting won't take place for another month.
Yeah, I have to tell you, time kills all deals. You know this, my friend. You know, a month is a long time away and it's going overseas and a lot of stuff changes overseas, So I'm making sure from now until that signs that I have clear, defined next steps set, and if possible, calendared. And I'm also asking questions. We go back to that one question we talked about, the shadow organization. Hey, I understand that has to go to Japan. Talk to me, walk me through your process. Like, who has to review it? Who are the people that sign off on it? What does that typically look like? You know, I want to find as much about that. Now, I bet that the person you speak to probably doesn't know much. All they know is it goes over to Japan and somebody over there signs it. So to me, part of it is helping that person understand, like, you and I both want to get this done in 30 days, right? Well, just saying it takes 4 weeks probably isn't going to get it done. We need to understand how that actually goes down, because maybe there's something that they can do, that you can do to help make sure it gets insured to happen. Because here's the thing, not all deals are the same. If your deal is below, I'm making this up, $250,000, it's probably a less of a decision from corporate than a deal that's a couple $1 million. My point is that maybe that 4 weeks isn't 4 weeks if they really understood what the process was in Japan and how they go through that. That's what I would want to get to. Again, it's being more inquisitive. It's digging deeper as to the why is it 4 weeks? Is it 4 weeks for all deals, or deals of a certain size? Does this hit that threshold or not? It's just like procurement. Like certain deals of a certain size at an organization doesn't go through procurement because it's too small. I'd want to know that early on, right? So I think that's some of my advice I'd give you on the deal that's going overseas.
Thank you.
A couple of resources, my LinkedIn page, go to my key feature section, and you will see, keep scrolling to the right in that feature section. There is a link that will take you to a Google folder that has not all, a lot of templates you can download. I provide coaching for teams and for individuals. You can find out more if you're an individual, you're interested at vincebeasy.com coaching. For those of you who are team leaders, I also do a lot of workshops. Someone mentioned before, I've been doing a lot of SKOs. We're coming in doing 3-hour workshops, running some plays, putting them into place, customizing them based on your selling motion. So it's not one size fits all. You can find out more of that. And then another free resource, I have a Substack. I don't know if you guys have used it. Substack is free to access not only mine, but other newsletters. It's a great resource for newsletters. And hey, it's nice to get off LinkedIn once in a while, guys. Go to vincebbeasy.substack.com and you can subscribe to Red Zone Selling Newsletter. I post every Sunday and sometimes add some additional content in the middle of the week as well. You see my LinkedIn profile, love connections, love to connect, or shoot me an email if you're interested in keeping the dialogue going. But last thing I want to leave you with, which is I wouldn't be doing my job, guys, if I wasn't selling in the red zone, baby. Get over to Amazon, get your book, Red Zone Selling. I think it's very affordable, and I think it's a really good read, getting a lot of good feedback and reviews. Love to get your feedback. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you all coming on. I appreciate you being very interactive. These sessions sometimes are difficult because we're all virtual, right? So thank you for joining. For those of you on here, I am going to share this in an email so you can have it and share it with your friends and just keep learning. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you, Vince.